morning. Joining me today is IRTA lobbyist Steve Beebe, and we're coming to you on Friday, February 24th, to give you a summary of the first half of the legislative session. The legislators will be taking a break for a few days next week, so that we thought this would be a great time to update our members on what happened during the last several weeks as they were meeting at the Indiana State House. So Steve, I will let you go ahead and kind of explain to our members what's been happening, because you've been there almost every day.
Thank you. Yes, I have been there quite a bit.
I know you have.
But I want to go back before session and set the stage just a little bit, because I met with Senator Ryan Mishler, who chairs the Appropriations Committee, back in the fall. And Senator Mishler said at that time, I'm not opposed to the concept of a 13th check. I'm opposed to paying for it out of the general fund. Well, we learned shortly after that from Empress that there is money in the supplemental reserve account to pay for the 13th check. So I felt like we were well positioned as we began the session.
Going into it, yes.
And as we have historically done, we started a bill in the House Bill 1028, authored by Representative Bob Cherry, Mike Karakoff, and Jennifer Metzler. Provides for a 13th check, but it also has a one-time $50 bonus in it, which doesn't make up for not getting the 13th check 2 years ago, but it helps just a little bit. And that bill passed out of the Labor Committee. It passed out of Ways and Means Committee, and passed the House without a no vote. It was unanimous. We have always felt really good, strong support from our friends in the House, and this year was no different. As Laura mentioned, legislators are taking a break, and then when they come back on March 6th, that the Senate will pick up work on the House bills and vice versa. And I feel really good about where we are positioned going into the second half of the session. But I kind of feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say that 2 years ago I felt the same way, and we ended up not getting the 13th check. We got, the COLA. So I think this year we need to be a little more diligent. We need to make sure that the legislators, particularly the senators, understand that a 13th check is important to us. That's what we're asking for, and I'm hoping that we can activate the grassroots and have messages going to the legislators all during the second half, not just one time where they get a message or they get an email and maybe they forget about it. I want our members to contact legislators clear to the end of April, when the budget will be finalized, to just try to ensure that nothing falls through the cracks, and we're not surprised again, and that we end up getting the 13th check.
And what Steve is talking about, we're going to be sending out communication to kind of explain this grassroots approach. But when I started 2 years ago, I know that Steve was confident, Nancy Tolson, our legislative committee chair, was confident. Everyone around me was confident of what was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. And we did have members at that time reach out to your legislators, which was a good thing, but we're wanting to do it before that final vote. And I've got updates that are going to be coming out in the bulletin board, the spring edition. But again, by the time you get that, it's old news. And so I want to encourage you to go to our website, go to that advocacy tab, look at the legislative updates, because that is where you're going to get the most current news. It's going to help you, lead you on how you can help us, how you can advocate with us, with your local legislators. I think that it's really important that you start building the relationship, if you haven't already, with your local legislators. You know, as Steve said when he talked about going back before the session started, not only has he reached out to legislators before the session started, but truthfully, I have not stopped reaching out to legislators since I came into this position 2 years ago. And it's a kind of a slow process, but it's building that relationship, letting them know who we are and what we're fighting for, what we want, and who we represent, you, the members. So this is the time for you to get on board with us if you haven't already. If you have, I thank you for that, because we cannot do this job alone. It takes all of us to make a difference. But like Steve, we have gotten a lot of positive feedback. We have so many supporters at the State House, so many legislators that truly care about retired educators and are worried about the needs of retired educators. So please keep that in mind. And when you're reaching out to them, know that, you are reaching out to several that they're already on board, but it helps them to hear you say thank you. Thank you for your support, and it helps them to know that they're doing the right thing. Is there anything else you can think of,
Well,
Steve?
I want to compliment the members, how they reacted, after last budget session and when they didn't get the 13 check, but got the COLA. I know there was a lot of frustration, and some of it was even anger, but I think for the most part, our members that contacted legislators did so respectfully and professionally, and I really believe that set the stage to help us get the 13th check this session. If we would have been angry and ungrateful and calling people names,
Yeah.
I don't think we would be in this position, that we're in. The 13th check probably would have been shut down, early on. So I really appreciate how we reacted, and it's really important, that we have these contacts, with the Senate. I know that there are several members in the Senate that they just don't believe in pension enhancements. They will say in the private sector, you get your pension, but you can't expect that company to send you an additional amount of money every year. And their position is, why should the private sector be any different than the public sector? We can answer that. There's a lot of good. That's an easy question to answer. But that's, there are those people in the Senate that feel that way. And, we just have to, make sure that our supporters, in the Senate, hear from our members, and we do have more supporters than detractors, but the Senate is our challenge, not the House.
And so do remember that when we reach out to you in the next week saying this is what we need you to do, we do have a short window of time because everything wraps up in April. The final vote is in April, and it'll be here before we know it. So, because I can say that this first half of the session went very quickly, very, very quickly.
And I can second that.
So just know that, we don't have a lot of time, but hopefully the next time we speak to you, it's going to be with a lot of positive news. I can't wait for that. So again, if you have any questions, call the office, keep looking at the website, and thank you for supporting the Indiana Retired Teachers Association. Thank you.